Hello, Saji.
Hey, Peter.
Nice to see you.
Nice to be here.
I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Peter O'Dunne. I'm a father, a husband, an athlete, a coach, a facilitator, a business owner, and an author. It's the author role that I'm here today to talk about. My new book that was published about a year ago called From Rust to Trust. I'd like to introduce Saji, my friend, also an author. And Saji, what other roles do you have other than a friend and an author?
Well, it's nice to be here with you, Peter. I think beside an author, I'm also a coach. Run a small coaching business. I'm a dad. I am a teacher, and I'm a worship coordinator. I lead praise and worship and train worship teams in churches, and a keyboardist. I play and teach the piano.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I like to start with roles because roles have everything to do with relationships. Even the role of yourself has to do with the relationship that you have with yourself. And in my opinion, if you get the relationships right, you'll have a great life. And in this book, what I'm trying to demonstrate is by living a principle-centered and other-focused life, you can have great relationships, and those great relationships will help you to have a great life.
I think that's a great thing.
Thank you. I decided to do the video series to complement the book and the workbook. Here's a copy of the book.
And I have my copy too.
The video series will be laid out in 10 videos, one for each 3 chapters in the book. Tonight's video will be chapters 1, 2, and 3. There'll be an additional video to cover Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which are sprinkled throughout the book. So stories are something that everybody has, and I'll be sharing some different stories than the stories in the book. And when you think about stories, everyone has a story to tell. Saji has a story to tell, I have a story to tell, and people are just waiting for someone to ask them to tell their story. So we're going to tell you some stories tonight and throughout the video series to help teach the principles of the book.
I am really looking forward to this series, and believe me, it's going to be life-changing. Like Peter said, I can't wait to tell my story too.
So when I talk about why the book, it gets to the purpose of why I wrote the book. It took me 7 years to write the book, but I couldn't begin the book without answering the question why. And the reason that I wrote the book was to leave a legacy for my daughter. My parents died at an early age. I never knew my father. I never really knew my mother. And I have a lot of questions that I wish that I could ask them today. I don't want my daughter to have that problem. So I wrote this book to answer those questions, to let her know what I stood for and what was important to me.
And I think that's a great thing, Peter, because when I read the book, I see what you mean by being others focused. And that's the thing that's really stood out for me. And from the little I've known Peter, you can really see that he's focused on others and just want to help people. So believe me, this is going to be great.
Thank you. So the book is about leadership and living a principle-centered life and learning to be other-focused. The book highlights the importance of getting out of your comfort zone. When you get out of your comfort zone, we grow. So there's lots of stories about getting out of our comfort zone. The get out of your comfort zone can be setting a goal for yourself. We started talking about roles in the very beginning. So setting goals, big goals, per role is one way to get out of your comfort zone. But there are also things that push us out of our comfort zone, things that we don't control or have anything to do with. And those are obstacles in life that just happen to us, not something that we plan to have happen. Maybe a sickness, maybe cancer, maybe a loss of a job. But we have to deal with those obstacles. And I was reminded by that today when I did my Wednesday bike ride, that I was going through an area that I went through last week, and the road was very rough and a lot of potholes, and this week I went through and it had been recently paved. It was a beautiful road. It was very smooth, there was no more potholes, and I loved being on this road. And it reminded me that that's the way life is. That when you get out of your comfort zone, it's like paving over all the obstacles. And we need to pave those roads. We have to realize that everything needs to be repaired. Everything needs to be improved. And we can't sit and wait for someone else to do it, particularly when it has to do with our life. We have to get out there and do it ourselves. And that's what this book is trying to teach.
You know, and that's a very great thing. You know, I love the analogy about the road. At one time you were on this road, you know, it was bumpy, it was not smooth, and you went on the same road. You know, now everything, the ride was smooth, the scenery was nice. You know, and I think that's a very, very great life principle that you have to learn from this book.
Okay. And Saji, am I right that you wrote a book called Don't Die Sitting?
Yeah, I wrote a book Don't Die Sitting, because I believe that nothing is worse than doing nothing. So it doesn't matter what is going on with you. You know, like Peter said, it doesn't matter how rough the road is. There is something in you that should constantly remind you that you are more than your situation. And if you can just decide to stand up and get up, then believe me, you're going to surprise yourself. And that is why I wrote the book, that don't you ever die sitting, because there is a potential in you.
Thank you. So I wanted to answer the question that some might be asking, what does it mean to move from rust to trust? And I thought the best way to answer that question is to give some examples. I have so many friends and so many examples that I can give you, but I can start with my wife, who went through breast cancer 5 years ago, and now she's battling multiple myeloma. And this is a poster for multiple myeloma that I use every year to collect money for that multiple myeloma foundation. There's many other people that have lost a job, that are beginning a new job, that are trying to lose significant amounts of weight, that are going back to college or some type of educational endeavor, that are having relationship problems. There's a lot of examples of going from rust to trust. And I can turn to Saji and ask Saji, what are some examples that you might share of going from rust to trust?
That's a thoughtful thing. So going from rust to trust, you know, like, you know, starting anything is hard, very hard. You know, I will give this first example. When I decided to host LeaderCast. LeaderCast is a yearly annual leadership event, and this is my 4th year of hosting LeaderCast. The first one was very, very rough, believe me. People got in the room and said, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into?
Did you say rough or rust?
It was rusty and it was rough. You know, like, who is going to be the cameraman? I was looking for a photographer. That was the first time I really planned an event. But this is the 4th year I'm hosting LeaderCast, and I finished the LeaderCast for this year 2 weeks ago, and it was phenomenal. I look at where I started from, but I said, wow. And believe me, next year is still going to be great. Second example is I want to get a place where I can teach people the Word of God, you know, a church where people can come, learn about life, learn about love, learn about God. And getting the process started is just so daunting. You know, there are so many administrative things you have to do. So like Peter said, it's a very, very rusty process right now at the beginning. But I believe, just like Peter said, like riding, you know, his bike, if you just keep pushing, if you keep going, believe me, things will definitely get smooth. So it doesn't matter how rusty things are for you right now. if you can just persevere and keep at it, believe me, then you can trust the process that is going to be better as time goes on.
I really like the bike example because with a bicycle, you can only go forward. You cannot go backwards on a bicycle or else you're going
I like that. I
to
never thought
fall
of that.
over.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Never thought of that.
I think the thing that I would remind everyone with the Rust to Trust journeys is that some of them are within your control. Some of them are things that you decide to do, like me deciding to write a book or Saji deciding to write a book. But there are many, many things like what my wife is going through that just happen to us that we have to deal with and get through. And with the right process, with the right attitude, with courage and faith, you can go from rust to trust.
And I'll just quickly add, Peter has mentioned with the right attitude, with faith, believe me, with this book, you can go from rust to trust.
Moving from rust to trust always involves vision. And vision is nothing more than moving from point A to point B, asking yourself, where am I today? Where would I like to be at some point in time in the future? For me, completing my first Ironman in 2005 took a vision. I had to sit down and write a vision, what I wanted it to look like and what I wanted to accomplish. For writing my book and for Saji writing his book, same way. I had to have a vision. Without the vision, I never would have completed it. Saji, can you add maybe some other things that you've had a vision that have helped you to accomplish something significant, or maybe a vision that you're working on now?
Well, vision is so powerful. Like I grew up in Africa, and there was a time we were running an experiment, a scientific experiment, and we were supposed to do a very particular experiment, and we couldn't. And the professor says it's because we don't have a particular reagent, that we're supposed to use, a solution. And I asked the question that, okay, where do they do this kind of experiment? He said, well, if you want to do this kind of experiment, it's either you go to the USA or you go to Europe. And believe me, I caught that vision. And that was what landed me in Europe for my graduate degree. But I have to see it, like Peter said. Anything you want to do, you have to actually see it before you see it. Now, currently, I mentioned I want to start this fellowship. So I can see that fellowship. I can see us getting a place. I can see people coming in this fellowship. I can see people learning, people growing, people reviving their dream. And that's why I named this ministry Life Word. Because I want people's dreams, I want people's vision, I want people's potential, I want everything to come alive just by the words that they're going to be hearing. So don't ever let go of your vision. Keep it in front of you. Because believe me, it can take you, like Peter said, from rust to trust.
Thank you. So I'd like to summarize what I think are the 3 takeaways from the book in this first video series. The first takeaway is going to be to live your life inside out. And by inside out, I mean live your life by principles. Principles are inside of us. So forming good habits based on principles is living your life inside out. I enjoy taking Pilates. I have a Pilates reformer in my house. And the reason I like Pilates is because it strengthens the core first on the inside, and then it works its way to the outside, where other machines start with the outside first and work their way in. The second takeaway from the book is upside down. And upside down to me means that as a leader, you're serving other people. Other people aren't serving you. So learning to be a servant leader is one of the key takeaways in this book. The third takeaway I call backwards. And backwards means that sometime doing the right thing means doing the opposite thing that most people do. So learning And figuring out what everyone else does and doing the opposite is sometimes the best thing that you can possibly do. So those 3 takeaways are summary of what you're going to see in the book. We're coming to the end of the first video, and I thought I would leave you with a couple questions, maybe 3 questions to think about. And the very first question would be to ask yourself, are you a me person, or are you an other focused person? The second question I would ask is, what would you like your legacy to be? And really begin thinking about what kind of legacy would you like to live. The last question that I would ask goes back to the Rust to Trust question. Is there a challenge currently in your life that a Rust to Trust journey could help with that challenge?
I think those are great questions, and definitely I have a question for you. Because maybe you're watching this, you're a business owner, a startup, a non-profit leader, or an entrepreneur, and you're trying to clarify your vision. Like Peter said, vision has helped him to write this book, be a triathlon, run his own business successfully. So Peter, for people that are watching, everything is still a little muddled up, it's a little foggy, they are not really clear, they are not really sure. How will vision help them?
Vision is the starting point. Vision will give them clarity about what they want to do, and will give them absolute assurance that they can accomplish what they set out to do. I think if the question was asked to me, what would be the first step that a leader or an individual would take to find his vision, I would answer that question and say to find some quiet time and reflect on things that you're passionate about. I saw the passion in Saji's voice when he was talking about his new church, and I would tell any leader that the vision is inside of you, but you have to find a quiet place and you have to reflect on it and get that vision to come out of you. I would recommend buying a journal. I would spend time journaling. I would find out things that you're talented, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, what makes the hair stand up on your arms, and what are you passionate about. And you will find your vision if you answer those questions. And it does take time and does take patience, but it's worth it in the end. And not only you will be fulfilled, but you will help many, many people along the way.
Wow, awesome. Thanks very much. So there you have it. You want to go from rust to trust, you need to get this book. So Peter, I think I will ask you this. Where can people get this book?
The book is available on Amazon.com.
So go ahead and go get it. And again, my name is Saji and
Peter.
So this concludes the first video series on this book, Going from Rust to Trust. Until next video, we say go and implement the principles in this book. And we can't wait to hear your own story. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Awesome.